What's going on, you guys? J-Dog here. Hope you all are having an amazing Tuesday. As you all know, that today is September 11th, and this day goes down in history for the bad reasons. 17 years ago today, in 2001, 4 planes were hijacked. 2 of them hit the World Trade Center. 1 hit the Pentagon in Washington, D.C., and the 4th plane was either supposed to hit the White House or the Capitol building in D.C. and never made it there because the passengers on board United Flight 93 fought off the terrorists, and that plane ended up crashing in a field outside of Pittsburgh. On that day, almost nearly 3,000 people lost their lives, including hundreds of first responders. So pretty much what you guys should do today, or just any day in general, is when you see a firefighter, when you see a police officer, when you see a paramedic, go up to them and just say thank you. Those 2 words will mean everything to them, because you don't know what they could be going through. You can go up to a firefighter and they could have just came back from fighting a fire that killed a family or a pet. Or an EMT coming back from a shooting call. They try to save the life of the victim and they ended up dying en route to the hospital. Or a police officer that ended up arresting a person for robbing a store. You don't know what these men and women are going through. So take time out of your day. It doesn't matter if it's today, since it's September 11th, or just any day out of the year. If you just see a paramedic, firefighter, or police officer, go up to them and say thank you, and it'll mean so much to them. Trust me, I've done it before, and I know that it brings like tears of happiness to them when they hear those 2 words, thank you. But yeah. But other than that, though, just today is September 11th. Just wanted to put that out there, so we just remember what happened. And a couple of things that stand out to me, because I was in 7th grade when it happened. Back in 2001, I was just a week into 7th grade. I remember waking up in the morning that day, and I was getting ready for school. And my mom was on the phone with my dad, because my dad used to work early in the morning. He would leave for work at, I think, 6:30 before he had his schedule changed, if I'm not mistaken. But I was getting ready for school, and I was watching the WGN morning news. I always watched it during the day before I went to school, in elementary school. And I remember they broke in with a story from New York City saying that a plane hit the World Trade Center. I believe it was the North Tower of the World Trade Center. And I got up, I went into the kitchen. My mom just hung up with my dad, and I said, Mom, a plane just flew into the World Trade Center in New York City. I honestly, because I was only in 7th grade, I didn't know what was going on at the time. I honestly thought it was just an accident. But I mean, it was a clear, sunny day. So maybe the pilot or the co-pilot had some type of medical emergency. They could do an emergency landing and decided to crash it into a building, So I wasn't really thinking at the time that it was a terrorist attack. It wasn't until after I got out of school that day that my mom told me that no sooner did I leave for school that morning, that another plane hit the South Tower, and another plane hit the Pentagon, and another plane crashed into the field outside of Pittsburgh. And then my mom said that we had a terrorist attack that killed several people. Later on the day, me and my dad went to put gas in the car. We went to this one gas station not that far from our house, and when we were sitting there, gas prices jumped about $1 to $2 more than what it was when we first got there, because gas was in such high demand at that time because of what happened. And then we went to the library, and they ended up closing at, I think, 5 or 6 o'clock that day because of what happened. So everybody wanted to be with their family. What stands out to me though is air traffic control was down for several days after the 9/11 terrorist attacks. So there were no planes flying anywhere across the United States. And they were still flying in Canada, Mexico, and like other countries like Australia, Africa, Asia, and Europe. They were all flying over there, but the United States, North America, United States, had no air traffic at all for about, I want to say 5-6 days, for about maybe a week. There was no planes flying at all in the United States. Even Alaska and Hawaii, they didn't have any planes flying. So it was peaceful, but it was on the scary side as well. Another thing that brings it back is how quiet, and I remember the next day, that Wednesday, September 12th, I looked at the Chicago Sun-Times newspaper, because my dad always got a newspaper, and I looked at it, and it showed downtown Chicago quiet as anything, and you saw one man walking down the street in downtown Chicago. Downtown was shut down for a couple of days because of what happened. Another thing that stands out to me, and this, I've seen videos of this, and this gets me teary-eyed even 17 years later, is how all these other nations came together as one and mourned with us because of what happened. And I admit that always gets me teary-eyed. I cry when I see videos like that with countries, other countries, coming together as one country with us and mourn with us. The United States, in my opinion, got so much stronger after 9/11. We came together as one country and mourned together. I remember that sports games were canceled because of the 9/11 attacks. They didn't go on for about a week because of what happened. But a very emotional day that day, and it's going to live with us for the rest of our lives. I know that for a fact. And that's something that, we can't change in the history books, is a terrorist attack. I mean, yeah, there have been a couple of other terrorist attacks here in the United States. It doesn't get enough, coverage or whatever. I don't know really how to put it, but I don't want to say they don't make a big deal about it, but they do. But it's not as a big deal as it was back in September 11th because of what happened with 4 planes. Hundreds of people on the planes died, and then thousands of people that died while at work. So another thing you guys can do as well, besides saying thank you to first responders, is before you go to bed tonight, or any night, no matter what, go up to your loved ones, wife, husband, mom, dad, grandparents, aunt, uncle, kids, brothers, sisters. Give them a hug. Give them a kiss even. And just tell them, I love you. Because you never know what tomorrow will bring. You don't know if that'll be your last ever time seeing them. So always say, I love you to your loved ones. It'll mean so much to you. Especially if something happens tomorrow. You know that your family loves you. Your kids love you. Your brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents, husbands, wives, whatever, they love you. They know that you love them. And it's all that matters. So just do that one thing tonight before you go to bed. Say I love you to your family. Say I love you to your closest friends. Doesn't matter who it is. Just say I love you to them. Because once again, you don't know what tomorrow can bring. At all. Nobody knows what tomorrow can bring. But once again, I hope y'all are having an amazing Tuesday. I know this is a pretty long video, so I apologize for that. And also just a reminder, especially for people that live out on the East Coast, from Maryland down to Georgia, or Maryland to South Carolina, whichever one. We do have that hurricane that's going to be hitting this weekend, so just be safe. If you need to evacuate, do it. Do not stay near the coast and risk your life, because this is going to be a very bad hurricane. So please, anybody on the East Coast, right on the coastline, or even 100 miles away from the coast, you're still going to be hit by the hurricane. So please just be safe. If you need to evacuate, get out. Hope you all are having a good day. I love you all. Later.